Today we're getting into 11 backpacking hacks that you need to know before your next backpacking trip. Number 11 is gonna make you sleep like a baby. Let's get into it. Number 1, gear aid. When you undoubtedly get some type of hole in your clothing, instead of having to replace that, just pick up some of this gear aid and actually lay it across the hole in your clothing. I've done this for all sorts of clothes that I have, especially my coat when I got it burned at a wood fire when we were staying at a overnight lookout. And it's basically brand new, waterproof, makes it so you don't have to buy another piece of gear. Number 2 is a Tyvek Sheet. Now, this is something that has multiple uses, which is something that I am a big fan of, and you should be too when you are backpacking. Not only is it a ground sheet to protect your tent's bottom from getting rips and abrasions on really hard ground, but it also doubles as a sign when you're on a thru hike. So what I would do on the Colorado Trail was I wrote thru hiker to town or thru hiker to trail, and people would see that and then they would pick me up. Triples as a little sit pad for when the ground is super wet. 4th, I used it to cover up on the CT when I was freezing cold and stuck in a giant gully washer. This I just kind of laid over me and my pack so it would keep it dry, and I also kind of used it as a little bit of a pack cover as well when I really didn't want to get the outside of my pack wet right before camp. Number 3 is using a long spoon. I'm sure many of you have gone through the REI spoons at the checkout, the different colored ones, they're the sporks, right? And they break every 3rd time that you've went out and backpacked. This doesn't do that. I'm actually really surprised I haven't lost this spoon yet, but it is a great piece of gear to have. Super long so it can get down into those dehydrated meals without you getting food all over your hands and your hands messy and all that kind of stuff. 4 is a Nyloflume pack liner. Again, I've mentioned this in past videos, but I will put all my warm gear in here, sleeping bag, coat, down coat, and all that stuff that I don't want to get wet. I'll put it in here, and I don't use any kind of rain cover for my bag. I just put all that stuff in here. Throughout the CT, the JMT, and things like that, never had an issue with anything soaking through, and it kept everything nice and dry. Number 5 is wrapping your Luekotape around something. So this is chapstick that I have. I will just wrap this around instead of bringing the entire thing. Also do it around trekking poles and other things like that. 6 comes with my Sawyer squeeze. Now, a couple tips with this. Number 1 is I love these Sportscaps. These things are amazing, and they come on the smaller smart water bottles, the 700 milliliter smart water bottles. And I'll grab as many of these as I can. I'll put them on my Sawyer squeeze so it shoots a nice line of water into my filter, but I'll also put it on my clean water bottle. And that is because instead of having to screw off the cap and drink and then put this cap back on, you just have the sports cap on and you just spray it in your mouth and you go. Now, this sounds really stupid, but the whole point of thru hiking is to be as efficient as possible, and this is one of the ways to increase that efficiency. It is able to back flush your Sawyer squeeze, so you don't need to carry your back flusher. Put it on a water bottle like so, and then you back flush the Sawyer squeeze just like this. Number 7 is a dual battery charger. This is great because when you get into town, you can obviously charge 2 things at once. I would usually be running my GoPro and then also charging my phone or my external battery through it. Number 8 is ramen. Why I put ramen on here is because a lot of new backpackers will go out and buy the dehydrated foods, which are great, and they do fill you up, and they're very satiating. However, they're very expensive. I mean, they're $10 a pop. Kind of funny because I'm actually wearing a Mountain House hat. To save money, especially when you're on a long thru hike and save weight, I will bring ramen, and I will actually do it as a cold soak in my cold soak jar, or I will, obviously bring some type of fuel and do it that way, but it's a super cheap way to get your calories. You can combine it with salmon packets, olive oil, and stuff like that to get more calories. Number 9 is storing rain gear on the outside of your pack. The reason I say this is because it's easily accessible this way. So when you get into some sort of little storm squall or something like that, oftentimes we as humans are very lazy and we don't want to stop and pull out something, especially if it's in the bottom of our pack. So making sure you have your rain gear stowed on the outside will ensure that you actually have the discipline to go in there, grab it when you need to. Number 9 is digging a cat hole as soon as you get to camp. This sounds really funny, but in the morning, I can barely get my shoes on before I have to go. Digging the cat hole before you need it is a lot more efficient than trying to do it when you are almost out of time. Put it that way. All right, number 11, this is gonna help you sleep. Now, this is a twofer. I actually found one of these tips from another YouTube video, but I'm gonna combo it with mine. When you have a camping pillow, right, it always moves around on your sleeping pad. Well, to avoid this, you can actually put your coat over top of the pillow on the sleeping bag. It'll actually keep the pillow in place. Pretty revolutionary. I haven't tried it yet, but again, I've seen this on videos. Now, what I like to do is I put my backpack as a headrest behind my pillow and against the tent wall. This helps correct the angle of your head. So oftentimes when we're camping, our head is at a very super weird angle, right? And so this, when you have the headrest there, as your pack, it'll actually kind of pick up that angle of your head and it'll help relax your neck a little bit more, and oftentimes leads to a lot better sleep. Now, I have 80% of my audience that watch my videos that are not subscribed. If you find value in any of these videos, please do me a solid and subscribe and like. I'm gonna leave a video up here, and that is my favorite gear from 2021 going into 2022. Give it a watch, and we'll see you for the next video.